Can a company outsource its cleared recruiting? Hi, this is Lindy with clearancejobs.com. It's a question that come up. It ties into a much broader topic that we're talking about a lot more these days, which is foreign control and influence, or FOCI, rules and policies, along with supply chain issues. So when it comes to recruiting, I actually put that into the supply chain bucket with a lot of those questions that come out saying, hey, at what point in the process do we need to have a tighter control over the information exchange coming in and out? And would it be possible for a company in the cleared space to potentially outsource the sourcing function of what they do to a third party or an overseas country? There's a lot of complexity around the hiring market and the hiring issue. So I'm not going to try to pretend to be a legal or defense contracting attorney in this, but I think it's just an area where for a candidate, I'm going to speak more for the candidate side because I know I got a ton of you watching these videos. It is worthwhile proceeding with caution if you have an overseas country who claims to be sourcing for a position that requires a clearance. That's why we always say to vet the employer who is doing that, doing those checks. Don't just give out your career advice and information for anyone. Using the clearance jobs tool is actually a good way to kind of get yourself within a password protected environment where we've vetted the employers that are on that site. So you know that they actually have a need for candidates with the security clearance versus what you get from just a random person who's calling you on the phone. So using the messaging function within clearance jobs to verify an employer reach back out is a great idea. When it comes to companies, again, I look at this as a supply chain issue. There certainly might be ways that especially the bigger companies could find to put some of those sourcing functions in a location that wasn't in the US. We know that we do have a lot of global companies and they're doing work, again, not just in the United States, but when it comes to that cleared workforce, I think kind of knowing where your information is going and who and what companies or entities are getting access to it is certainly worth looking into. Candidate information is absolutely something that third party, that adversaries are looking for. So making sure that you have some tight control over your cleared candidate pool, making sure you are doing sourcing in not just like a legal kind of framework, but also in an ethical way that protects the contact information, the information of your candidates is certainly important. So there are a lot of companies that do sourcing, that you can outsource some sourcing components of it. Many of those companies in the US that are certainly happy to help and can help find and staff for cleared positions. But it definitely does warrant a lot of due diligence, both on the employer side in terms of who they're hiring as a sourcing company, and then in the candidate side, if they have a sourcer or recruiter contacting them, making sure that that person is actually a recruiter, is actually doing cleared work and has a need for that. I think it's another question that comes up. We might do a separate video update on it, but do recruiters have a security clearance? We have some content coming up in a podcast that I recently recorded talking about kind of what if I have classified information that's a part of my SF-86 or my job, who should I disclose that to? Do not assume that a recruiter calling or contacting you has a security clearance just because they say they do, and do not be providing classified information in the course of a job interview, employment verification. Any employer, even a cleared recruiter or employer worth their salt, is not going to be asking you those kind of questions in a job interview. That's not going to be a part of the process. So again, be wise. Be cautious in terms of what you provide, and just know that because we do have a lot of bigger companies have segmented hiring processes, some recruiters, certainly because of the work they're doing, do require eligibility to access classified information, will have a security clearance. A number of them won't, because again, we have a lot of folks who perform a variety of really important support functions within the cleared community. I consider them a part of that community, even though their day-to-day job does not require eligibility to access classified information. So you may have a recruiter who's in that bucket. They are sourcing, they are supporting a cleared contract, but in a outside way where they don't have requirements to access classified information. They are just doing one piece of the puzzle. The more we can have that is better for our overall clearance marketplace because it gives us the supply demand flexibility. We don't have enough people currently in the cleared population to fill every role. So if you have a position that doesn't require eligibility where you can give them some section to do that doesn't, that again, don't assume anything. So don't assume an employer contacting you is who they say they are. Don't assume that a recruiter has a security clearance or needs to verify certain information about your clearance unless you have verified that through, again, kind of a trusted party like Clearance Jobs. And just be cautious in terms of whether you are, again, a candidate having somebody reach out to you, or you're an employer looking for a contractor to provide support, look to trusted resources and be careful out there. It can always be a little crazy. But for more on this, for more tips on recruiting, more tips on sourcing, and tips for cleared candidates, visit us over at clearancejobs.com.